It's the Underdogs back with you. Another week, another busy time in the sports calendar. I'm your co-host, Jordan Brenner, joined as always by Peter Keating. Hi, Peter. Did you miss me?
I did miss you, Jordan. Before we get into anything else, I just want to know, despite us both being from New York and being Mets and Yankee fans, are you enjoying this barrage of Philadelphia Philly home runs? If anybody's out there still watching baseball, like I always say, we love to tell you so. Jordan, they're hitting their way to another championship. I don't know how far they're going to get, but once again, Jordan, I think we're on to something. If you hit the hell out of the ball, you can actually win baseball playoff games. Just want to get that out of the way first.
I think we said the same thing about the Rangers, but we digress because
right. We have
forget baseball right now, Peter.
We're looking ahead.
Yeah, forget baseball. We are less than a week away from the start of another NBA season, and who better to discuss that with than my friend and former podcast co-host Howard Beck of The Ringer. Howard, thank you for gracing us with your presence today.
Jordan, good to see you. Peter, good to meet you. Glad to be with you guys.
Is it hard for you, knowing how difficult it is to work with me, to willingly appear on a show that I am affiliated with?
I thought you were going to ask me if it's hard to ever work with anyone ever again after having done a podcast with you. I know it would be for me.
I did some serious soul searching in the hours between when you first texted me and when I responded.
Appreciate that your soul allowed you to participate. So let's jump right into it, okay, guys? I've been talking on this podcast for a while now about how the NBA in the last couple of years has been the closest it has been to some sort of parity at the top. It's been a top heavy league for years. For many years, there were really only 1 to 3 title contenders in a season. This past couple of years, we've really seen a flattening of that. But Howard, let me start with you. Did the offseason moves we've seen, the Damian Lillard move to Milwaukee, the Drew Holiday move to Boston in particular, did that shuffle the deck at all? Is there less parity at the top now? How do you view the title contenders in the league at this point?
The thing is, Jordan, I think there's actually more parity after everything that happened this offseason. Yes, the Bucks and Celtics were already the 2 best teams in the East, and they both got stronger. But I think the important part is, through the lens of parity, is, well, the defending champion is in the West. It's Denver. And so if you want to look at it through the lens of, well, is anybody positioned to knock off the defending champions? The Celtics and Bucks are now better prepared for that than they were when the summer began. So there's that aspect. But beyond that, there's all the things that maybe did not happen, I guess, over the offseason, but that did happen in the latter half of last season, which was the Warriors made some moves to fortify themselves. They were a better team at the end than the beginning of last season. The Lakers most dramatically made a lot of moves where they were a much better team at the end than the beginning of last season. The Suns made the move for Durant at midseason, then made the move for Beal in the offseason. So you have all of these potential contenders, right? Like, they've all got caveats, they've all got concerns, injuries, health, age, all of this. But if you start counting the number of teams that you think could plausibly win, it doesn't mean you think, oh, this team's absolutely going to knock off the Nuggets. Just a number of teams that have a path. I think there's at least 5 in the West and 2 in the East. That's a pretty good list to start the season with, compared to, as you were noting, Jordan, in for a long period of time, you'd start the season thinking, there's 3, maybe 4 teams. There are a lot now. And so I think parity still is the reigning trend for now.
You could have 7 teams right around 45, 46 wins just in the West. That's pretty remarkable.
It is remarkable. Yeah. I mean, listen, like it's looking at the West in particular right now, the variability, the volatility from, like, you know, let's leave the Nuggets aside, like 2 through 12 is crazy. And the thing is, like, I'm going to look at this. I always assume health when we're in October. I'm going to assume health. I'm going to give the Clippers Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and assume that this is the season when it all finally comes together. And maybe they make the James Harden deal, maybe they don't. But they're a team that absolutely has to be considered among the top 4 or 5 in the West. But they are, as ever, 1 injury away from being 11th. And if that's the case, then somebody like Minnesota or New Orleans or Dallas might be making that move up. So, and Oklahoma's in there. Like, there's just there aren't that many teams you can write off, right? Like, we're probably going to still write off Houston and San Antonio for the time being, even though both should be better this season. We're going to write off Portland, but they're going to be good, or at least solid, I think. But yeah, a bunch of teams, like not everybody can make the playoffs or even the play-in.
Overall talent in the league right now. If there ever was a league ripe for expansion, I think the NBA at this point is that league. But let's go right into sort of our favorite parlor game we like to play at the beginning of any of the major sports seasons. We like to take a look at championship odds and come up with a long shot to win the championship. A long shot being a team with odds greater than plus 1,000. So that basically eliminates only the Bucks, Celtics, Nuggets, and Suns. It's fun to consider the Lakers or Warriors a long shot champion by those standards, but they are. So I'd like each of us to sort of pick a team that we like based on the odds and has a realistic chance to win the championship. Howard, why don't you go first?
Yes, let's let our guest go first.
Personally, not an odds guy. But if you're going to tell me that the Warriors and the Lakers are not, in fact, among the teams that are favored to win a championship, and you're saying take somebody who's outside of that group of four, Milwaukee, Boston, Denver, Phoenix, yeah, I'm going to take the Warriors or the Lakers. I mean, coin flip for me. I'm going to lean Warriors right now, out of a little bit of sentimentality. They're just a really fun team, and from a media standpoint, they're a very enjoyable team to cover. And, I think with LeBron and Steph both, you want to see the all-time greats get that one more shot to put that finishing touch on their careers, and we don't know when the end will be for either of them. LeBron's closer to the end than Steph, I think. Who knows? I'm not sure of anything anymore where it regards aging stars in this league. They all seem impervious to everything. But to see the Warriors, who are more of this kind of ensemble at this stage around Steph Curry, pull it off again. They already did it unexpectedly once, a year and a half ago. I could see it, guys. I could see it. I liked the Poole for Chris Paul swap. A full season of Andrew Wiggins instead of 27 games or whatever he played last year would certainly help. Klay Thompson is saying he's in much better condition now going into the season than he was this time last year. Draymond Green's still defending at a high level. They've removed the cloud of the whole Draymond Green, Jordan Poole thing. I think I would go Warriors outside of that top group.
Hey, where did they collapse last year? When they were looking old, or when they were fighting, or when they were having problems? They collapsed in turnover rate and free throw rate. Who did they go out and get? Chris Paul. Who cares if he's 38? We're not looking 6 years down the road. We're looking about who addressed the specific glaring problems that they developed to put themselves back up on a championship level. That was a great short-term trade, and that's a hard team to pick against, I think, as a long shot.
Right. Well, I think the interesting thing about the Chris Paul trade is it actually it's weird. You don't think of big contracts as giving you flexibility normally, but in the way the NBA works now, it actually does, because they facilitate trades for other big contract players. So in theory, if this isn't working at midseason and there's another unhappy star that emerges, Paul gives them that ability to make a move. So I'd like to keep my eye on that during the season. Peter, hit us with someone a little longer of a shot than
I'm going to keep this very short and very simple. Cleveland. Nobody's talking about Cleveland. They're plus 3,000 on the betting lines. This is a team that had the second best scoring differential in the entire NBA last year, better than any of the vaunted teams in the West. Adjusted for strength of schedule, still second best. Nobody's talking to them. The right time to pick a team to win something that they haven't won is when they looked so horrible for anything could happen reasons in their playoff series, right? They had a really bad playoff series. Okay, if they have a really good playoff series this season after winning another 50-something games, they got a lot straighter path to a title than any of the other teams we've been talking about so far. The core is back, the core is young, and the team was really pretty great. I don't know what else to say.
Look, do I think this team's going to win a championship? Probably not, but a plus 5,000, the team with the most upside in that range is the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm probably going to die on this hill. It requires a lot of imagination to see them making it deep in the playoffs. But I'll say this: if as Howard says, you want to assume health,
you've loved them forever, because if you love their potential forever. Yeah.
Well, let's assume Zion Williamson is healthy. They have so many pieces, so many good role players. We love Herb Jones here on this podcast. We love what Trey Murphy has become, CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram. There's a lot of talent there. I just think they're going to be a fascinating story to watch because they're one of those teams, like Howard says, that could be anywhere from like 2 to 11, and it wouldn't surprise you. So, not saying to go out and say they're going to more likely to win the championship than the Lakers or the Warriors, but there's something enticing about their odds. Guys, we're ready, running up against time. Real quick, give me a team that didn't make the playoffs last year that you like as an underdog shot to make the playoffs this year. Howard, you go first.
Well, everybody's darling right now is the Thunder, so I'm going to veer away from them because it's almost too easy to pick them. The team I had in mind actually was, in fact, Jordan Brenner's New Orleans Pelicans, because of all the obvious. That team was in first or second place in the West for most of December last season, and then Zion got hurt, and then other guys got hurt, and it all deteriorated. But the talent is absolutely there, and it's easy to sleep on them because it's kind of like become with the Clippers, where it's a fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 17 times. I'm no longer believing you can stay healthy. But if they're healthy, we know they can defend at a very high level. We know that Zion is an unstoppable force. Brandon Ingram's really versatile. If given health, which is a big asterisk to throw into any of these conversations, the Pelicans could absolutely make a massive leap.
Team?
Why not Dallas? I mean, I think Dallas is good enough to make the playoffs. They're probably good enough to make the playoffs last year, except they tanked. And hey, look, Kyrie's here. Kyrie's back. It's all going to work out great. They're better. They're better. They're way better than they were the last 30 games of last season. I also love Minnesota, but they made the playoffs by a centimeter, right? But Minnesota
that would make them a team that wouldn't make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They have some interesting financial flexibility, Minnesota, as well as a good mix of young players and free agents to be.
Well, I'll go even further off the radar. I think there's a scenario where the Orlando Magic vault into the top 8 in the East this year. They've collected a lot of young talent. I really like their front court of Wendell Carter, Paolo Banchero, and Franz Wagner, and not because 2 of the 3 players went to Duke. I think they have to identify a point guard out of Markelle Fultz, Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony. They are a team that's like one more move away too. Maybe it's a high scoring 2 guard from being really, really interesting. So just keep an eye on them in the Southeast. And guys, we are having so much fun that we are out of time, but please catch Howard's work at the Ringer. His most recent piece is still up there on 5 questions that will define this NBA season. You can also catch him on the Real Ones podcast every Monday. Howard, thank you for joining us.
And please come back.
Absolutely.
And we're back, and it's time, as always, for the Underdogs contest. As you know, we pick NFL games against the spread. You have to pick underdogs. They have to be a spread of at least 3 points or more. If your team covers, it's 1 point. If they win outright, it's 2 points. If they were a 6-point dog or more, and they win outright, it is a third bonus point.
I have a question. What do you get if you just lose? You get nothing? Because I feel like last week I ran into some trouble, Jordan.
Well, you're still in first place, though. You're leading with 10.5 points. Our guests / Sarah, our producer, are in second, right on your heels at 10. And in last place, it's me, 6.5 points. This is not going well. But and if that wasn't tough enough, there are only 7 games that have a spread of greater than 3 this week.
It's a dogfight. Get it? A dogfight, even to be able to pick a team this week.
Right. So we literally have to pick 6 of these 7 games. Some of them we might even like if we were gun to the head, we might even like the favorite more, but we're forced to pick an underdog. So this is going to be a wild.
That's the other thing. There's some value in the favorites this week.
I think so. Don't you say that every week?
No, I said it last week and I was completely wrong. It was a huge underdog week last week when I was finding it hard to pick. But this week, I think it's true.
Right. We got to give Nicole Auerbach credit for her big Jets pick last week.
Yes. Taylor Swift did not show up, but the vibes
were right.
The vibe was right.
All right, let's get going. Sarah is up first, then me, and then Peter. So Sarah, lead us off. Who do you got? The whole board is yours.
I just want to say I love the fact that my name is attached to all these guests who are insiders and really great guests that we have on, and somehow I feel like I'm the team captain. So I'm
right. It's Team Sarah.
I'm really excited that my team's winning. All right, first pick. I'm gonna go with this is either gonna go one way or the other, but I'm gonna go the Patriots +9 at home against the Bills. This is the first time that Bill Belichick is a home underdog, which I think I don't
more
think
than a
he's gonna like
touchdown. Wait, do that again.
by more than a touchdown. Yeah, sorry, by more than a
Start-
touchdown. He's been a home underdog before, but
redo that.
okay. This is the first time that Bill Belichick has been a home underdog by more than a touchdown, so I don't think he's gonna love that. But basically, I'm a huge Giants fan. Last week, the Bills, they didn't even score a touchdown for 3 quarters. I think Josh Allen turned the ball over 3 times. The Bills are really inconsistent, and I think if the Patriots can, not only if Mac Jones can not play good, but play mediocre, like just don't suck, I think that the Patriots have a chance to at least cover.
All right. Well, with the second pick in my first of the Week 7 draft, I'm going to take the Lions +3 at Baltimore.
That's interesting.
First of all, the Lions are the better team. That I'm confident in. Now, does that mean they're going to go on the road to Baltimore and necessarily be better on that day? Maybe not, but there's an interesting trend I uncovered. So you've got a really, really strong offense. The Lions are averaging more than 5.5 yards per play against a really strong defense. The Ravens are allowing less than 4 yards per play. When those types of teams face off and the underdog is the good offensive team and they're on the road, they win 62% of the time. You wouldn't expect that. You'd think, okay, home team, good defense, dome team coming and traveling that shuts down the offense. It's not the case. Sort of like Peter, you've been talking about in baseball, the offense travels. I think the Lions defense also is very underrated, especially their ability to generate pressure. So I still haven't seen it yet from the Ravens, a full complete game. I really do like the way the Lions are playing, and I'm getting 3. So give me the Lions +3 at Baltimore. Peter, you got back-to-back picks.
The Lions are 15-5 in their last 20 games as an underdog. I mean, their improvement has not shown up yet in betting lines. And also, the Ravens always play to the under. It's always going to be close, right? So, yeah, I love that pick. Here's one of the most reliable trends in all of sports. Mike Tomlin, in his career, 54, 28, and 3 as an underdog. Home, road, spread, whatever. His teams are undervalued, and it's a reliable bet to take. Pittsburgh against the Rams.
Getting 3, right?
Getting 3. Pittsburgh has been good against the spread. They've been playing low-scoring games. The Rams have been playing low-scoring games versus their expectations. In the last 20 games, they've gone 14-6 to the under. They're 8-14 against the spread after a win. They're one of those teams that people liked a couple of years ago, so they're still overreacting to their wins and losses. Pittsburgh is 7-3 against the spread in their last 10, 7-3 to the under. And give me the Steelers. Both of these teams are better than I expected they would be, but I think Pittsburgh is undervalued.
Well, now here's where it gets really fun as we go into the round 2 of this draft. Who you taking, Peter?
Well, it gets a little less. None of this is certain, but I'm going to take the Chargers getting 5.5 in a tough divisional game against the Chiefs. I think the Chargers offense is just starting to get on track. Our guy, Austin Eckler, is just starting to reintegrate into that offense. It's going to be a tough game, but Kansas City has not played that great as a home favorite. The last 20 games, they've been 13-7 to the under. The Chargers have been playing well as an underdog against the spread. They have been playing well on the road. And look, in the last 10 games between these two teams at Kansas City, the Chargers have won 7 of them. So put it all together, I could see the Chiefs winning. I could see Eckler getting back into the end zone, becoming the fantasy champion we want him to be. But I trust the Chargers to keep this close, scoring some points.
Look, the Justin Herbert, Brandon Staley combo, 9-4 as an underdog, including 6-2 when an underdog by 3 points or more. So there's track record here for them covering in this type of a situation. So I don't hate it, Peter. I hate having to make this pick, though.
I was going to say that's the last pick I had any confidence in at all in this group of underdogs this week.
Yeah, so we're down to this, which I feel gross doing. But I guess I'm going to take the Vikings getting 6.5 at home on Monday night against the 49ers. Now, we were all about fading the Vikings last season and coming into this season, but I think the pendulum has swung a little too far on the other way.
They have faded. They're dried out and crusty, and now it's time for them to reanimate. Yes.
So it's a bank on a couple things. One, uncertainty. We know McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams are all banged up, although it sounds like they're all leaning toward playing, but we'll see how that manifests. there's a small trend. It's not a huge sample size, but Monday night dogs of 6.5 or more, as the Vikings are, who they're at home. They're facing a team. Let's say sorry, can I start that over? Monday night dogs of 6.5 or more who have won like a third of their games or less and are facing a team that's won 75% of their games or more. They're 7-3 in those situations over the past 2 decades. So maybe we overrate the better team in those Monday night road situations. So I could see Kirk Cousins, even without Justin Jefferson, doing enough to keep this thing close. I don't think the Vikings will win outright, but getting 6.5, there's room for a backdoor cover. And when your other options are the Cardinals, let me do that again. Sorry. When your other options are picking the Cardinals on the road or the Bears anywhere, I have to go with the Vikings. So give me the Vikings.
I think motivation on an individual level probably only matters at the margins. But if it's going to matter at all for the rest of the season, it's going to matter with Cousins. They're not going to trade Cousins. He's not going to let them. His best chance at doing what he wants to do for the rest of his life is to throw for another 4,000 yards over these next few games, right? So I'm not saying he's a selfish player. I'm just saying if motivation matters at all, it's time to turn the page, like you said, and stop disliking Cousins and the Vikings.
All right. Well, Sarah, you're left with 2 options. The Bears getting 3 at home against the Raiders. I do not want to watch a second of that game. Or you get the Cardinals plus 7.5 at the Seahawks. Where are you going?
I just feel like you did this on purpose because my team's winning and you put me last.
Peter's winning. Team
Jordan
Sarah is not winning.
Updated lines. I don't know. This feels a little rigged.
Wait, are you saying Jordan took Jacksonville off the board to rig this against you? Oh,
I single-handedly moved the line from the Jaguars from 3 to 1, so they weren't available. But I want to point out again that as much as it pains me to say Team Peter is winning, Team Sarah is in second place. So let's go. But who's it going to be?
That renders your claim Trumpian about the rigged.
That's right.
the rigged voting board.
That's right.
So I'm sorry.
How's your crowd size?
Okay, well, stuck between a rock and a hard place, I guess. I'm gonna take the Cardinals plus 8 at the Seahawks. Why? Because that seems more likely to me.
Why? Because they're not the Bears. That's the reason.
And by the way, you only get
exactly.
The line moved, Sarah, so it's 7.5. You lost a half a point.
Yeah.
That wasn't enough.
So let's just point out, Jordan, this entire show now, all of us have moved off the Bears. It's a sad story. At the beginning of the year, we were talking about regression to the mean on Pat's catching percentage and all this stuff. And now we can't even take the Bears.
Do you want to bet on a Bears backup quarterback?
No,
Come on.
I would bet under 20 in that game is maybe the only bet I would make on that game.
Oh, I think Sarah's answer of I'm taking the Cardinals because they're not the Bears might be the best analysis we've had in the history of this show. Peter, if you haven't noticed this, and I don't know how you would have missed it because it's getting a lot of attention everywhere, a bunch of sports were added to the Olympics for 2028 in Los Angeles. But the most interesting one of all, by far, is flag football. A 5-on-5 game. There's already talk about Tyreek Hill wanting to play, NFL stars. I think this is incredibly interesting. What was your reaction to the addition of flag football?
First of all, Jordan, they also added breakdancing. So let's not talk about which one is the most interesting quite yet. There may be other sports we need to cover later on. I think it's great. I think it's interesting that the NFL included, flag football at the Pro Bowl last time for the first time. And there is a lot of NFL money behind the spread of flag football and youth sports. That's a whole interesting subject to talk about. But flag football at the pro level is kind of semi-pro athletes kind of hanging on. There's a 41-year-old former SMU point guard who was the captain of the quarterback for the women's flag football U.S. team, who was the offensive coordinator at the Pro Bowl last year. There's a big gulf between like youth sports and the people playing it professionally, which does leave room, I think, for NFL players to jump into the Olympics if they want to. That's kind of intriguing.
And I'm going to take this a step further. Not only do I think this is cool, and I'm going to get yelled at from football purists, but the hardest thing for me as a football fan is watching what these guys do to each other for my entertainment on a week-to-week basis. The head injuries, the lasting body injuries, the shortened lifespan, the CTE. I feel a lot of guilt about it. And look, I was talking to my friend who played high school football yesterday, and he's like, they get paid. They know what they're They know what they're dealing with,
They
and I get
don't.
that.
There is no caveat emptor here. Nobody can tell you what the costs and the benefits are. So that is a ridiculous argument. Let me say one thing. I'll dedicate this segment to Dick Butkus. All these tributes flowed in about how great Dick Butkus is. Undeniably, murderously great. Dick Butkus lasted 9 years in the NFL. The game killed him before it really killed him. And if you want the game to stop killing your favorite players, this is an interesting option.
I like the idea of this being showcased in the Olympics because maybe it actually has a greater impact at lower levels.
Last 6 years, participation in flag football up 23% to more than 7 million. Participation in tackle football among youth down 15% to 5 million. There's a reason why the people who make money off this are getting into it.
That's
already happening.
I would very much like to tackle you. Maybe that'll happen next time on the Underdogs.